So here's a update on my Nano Reef jar that I built for my gaming desk. So if you're here, tune in, grab a coffee. Thanks for hanging out. I figured we'll start off with a little journey or the tour of how I got to this point. It's still definitely new, so I'm going to continue bringing you guys through a journey of all of the updates that I bring to this jar. I wish I started earlier, but I didn't have the idea to, and I kind of want to share it with you guys because I'm going to try and do the impossible here because I know a few people have done these. I always thought it was incredibly cool. I've had a few aquariums in the past. I've had tons of different fish. I've never really experimented with coral, so this is new to me, and a lot of people wouldn't recommend doing it in a smaller enclosure because obviously smaller changes in water parameters lead to much quicker problems, but I don't have the room right now, and the reason I don't have all those tanks and stuff anymore is because my wife and I moved to a smaller space for the time being, and this is what I was able to have access to. So I first decided I wanted an aquarium jar. I actually had a freshwater jar, and I had some small frogs in it, and that was really fun. It was planted. It was growing like crazy. There was something about the reef that I really liked. The fact that there were so many different inverts that you could have. There were so many different macroalgae, so many coral options, and small fish options, and so on. But in that smaller jar, I think the jar was maybe a half a gallon, if not just under a gallon. And I had this really small reef grow light on it. It's super simple. It was just a white light. It was nothing crazy. It did grow a bunch of the plants. When I did switch it over to the reef jar, it also was able to grow some green star polyp for a small time being. It actually came off of this tiny all-in-one tank that if you guys want to see me scape one day, that'd be really cool. It's crazy. This tiny tank does come with a overflow, a sump in the bottom. It's nuts. I actually used to have it running, but I didn't anymore just because I didn't have room for it. And yeah, I ran this light. It came with it. I don't really know where to purchase this light outside of there. It just sat on top of the tank a long ways, so you could tell the lid on the old jar was very, very small. The pump I also have in there is from the sump pump that goes in here. So that's subject for change. So I didn't like the size of it, and I didn't like the lighting because I didn't have that blue option. So my next idea was I was looking for a light that you could throw onto a small jar that wasn't going to just overpower the entire jar or shine all over the desk and be blinding while I'm, playing video games, working on the computer and whatnot. I came across this. It is a reef grow light that's specifically designed for a 2-gallon jar. Sadly, I'm pretty sure they're discontinued. I had to pay like double the price. A few places do have them in stock. I'm going to put all of the stuff that I have in here, the jar, the lid, and whatnot, in the description below. I'll link them, whether it be the name or where you can go get them. This is not sponsored by any means, obviously. The light was fantastic. It showed up. It has this beautiful blue. It even has you can adjust the lighting on it, whether it be more blues, more whites, and mess around with it to grow your corals, and obviously the look that it has. But the second larger jar that I purchased, the light didn't fit on. It only fits on I think it's an anchor hacking 2-gallon jar. I purchased one, but I guess I purchased the wrong style of anchor hacking 2-gallon jar, and the opening or the mouth to the jar was too thin. So the lid just hung off a ton, and it looked ridiculous. So I then went to Walmart. You can purchase these at Walmart. I'll link exactly which jar this is. It's an anchor hacking 2-gallon, and it's designed to fit perfectly with these reef grow lights. It is crazy that they made jar-style lights for these projects, and then they just don't make them anymore. That's such a shame because it makes it so much easier. It looks so much cleaner. It will sit completely flush. The only reason mine doesn't sit totally flush is because I do have that pump in the back. There is no filter in here. I just run the pump for flow reasons, obviously. So I built this jar. I threw the light on. And I was like, let's get started. Let's build the reef. Let's get the rock in there. Let's get the sand and whatnot. I wanted to get this started as quick as possible because I'm impatient and there is absolutely no professionalism here. So I went out and I purchased some sand, the live sand that you could just purchase at the fish store. I Got a bunch of rocks from one of their Reef tanks. Some of these rocks were obviously newer, and then some of the rocks were definitely older. Like they didn't have them in there as long, but it is a mixture of already live, already bacteria-filled rocks. And then I even went ahead and purchased some macroalgae, and I used all of the water that was in those bags, put them in here, and then I filled the rest of the tank up with some of the Pacific Ocean water from Imagitarium. It's just real ocean water. It is a little bit more expensive, but without the access to an RO system and the ability to mix salt, and it just makes it nice and easy. You get like a 5-gallon thing of these guys for like $20 from even your local Petco, your local Reef store, whatever you go to. And this is 2 gallons, so I do like a 1.5 gallon water change on here once a week. It works perfectly, nice and easy, and I just filled it up the rest of the way. Now, the one thing, these rocks, when I purchased them, the live rocks, they already had these mushrooms on them, and it was just one large rock. And what I liked about that is it also, in the bottom, it had some sponges and stuff, and I figured, obviously, it being a newer system, things were going to die off anyways, but I wanted all of that life, the coral line that came on it too, just anything that was on there to come into the tank, to decay, to live, to breed, to send out spores, whatever it be, and hopefully cycle this tank as quick as possible. You're not going to skip the ugly phase, obviously. We do have some hair algae coming in, but I wanted to skip that as fast as possible. Now, I was immediately concerned with nutrient export. Being that it's a smaller system, I was trying to figure out how I should get rid of nutrients initially. So for the first month, I actually just had a ball of Cheeto growing in the back. I since took that out. I do have 2 other macroalgae slowly building themselves up in here. I added some of the Dragon's Breath red macroalgae, which is kind of whiting out. I wonder if it's the light or maybe nutrients, but we'll see. I'm having some trouble with that guy. And then there's also some macroalgae that I added in the back. It was just one strain of whatever that macroalgae is. And it's been spreading through the sand. So obviously that should help with nutrient export as it gets a little bit more full and kind of fills in. I decided I wanted to continue adding some stuff to the tank. I didn't exactly know what I wanted to add right away. So I figured we'd start with a cleanup crew. I had picked up 2 Astrea snails, I think they are, right? I think that's the name for them. 2 red leg hermits, which are usually somewhere up at the top. And then I picked up 2 to keep the sand moving, the Sarius snails, and they're in there somewhere as well. They always come out when I feed the zombie snail name they like raise from the dead, so that's really cool. Going forward from there, I let the tank run for another week or so. It was doing great. I was still doing water changes and whatnot. It was really starting to fill out and I guess come to life. Like again, the algae was starting to come in. The corals were really opening up. You were starting to see some of the small little like tube worm style things in the bottom of the rock start to open up. So it was definitely giving life, and I wanted to add some more colors, some more corals. I was looking for something easy, something that can handle a little bit of abuse, something that'll spread very quickly, just something simple. I didn't want a crazy expensive coral, so I went and picked up this star polyp. This star polyp was on a snail shell, and I just glued it to the top of the rock, and it is, I would say, flourishing. Definitely reaching upwards a little bit. I don't know if that's normal. Maybe it's trying to reach for more light, but light's pretty high, so it seems happy. And after that, let me get this to focus. Cool. After that, I started to notice there was a lot of algae on the glass. And since it's a small jar aquarium, it's really hard to get your hands in there and work. So the first thing that I did was I picked up this really small flipper magnet glass cleaner. It's awesome. It's super easy. Just scrape it around. And it also has a side that is designed for scraping and not scrubbing too, in case you have some more coarse algae. It should make it a little easier to get into there. I do have trouble getting up here though, so you have to do that by hand when you water change. Next, it was fish time. I needed some life. I wanted to see some movement in the tank, and I didn't know what I wanted at first. I was thinking maybe some small gobies or something, or there's a portion where I was going to do a pygmy octopus, like one of those octopi that get like the size of your thumbnail, and I didn't really know. And then I came across the idea that I wanted to try out the goby and pistol shrimp combination, which I did place in, and they are hiding in the bottom of that rock. They come out more frequently now. Originally, you didn't see them for a good few days. It's like 3-4 days. They didn't come out at all. But then I started to notice the shrimp was building his burrows and whatnot. They really definitely made up. Let's try and catch them. They definitely made their home further in the back, which is kind of a darn shame. It's a yashigobi, and I believe it's a candy cane pistol shrimp. I'll throw up a video of them together here because I did take a video of them. It's just a better quality video I took while they were feeding. And they've been eating well. They've been getting along. Every now and again, you can hear a little pop from the pistol shrimp. I don't know what he's up to. He must think he's defending something. Great combination. It's awesome. And you don't always see them, so it's a little treat. Next, I wanted a little bit more life that I could see because I didn't realize how they were going to build a home in the back and I wouldn't get much time to look at them. So I went out and I picked up some of the sexy shrimp. I got 2 sexy shrimp, which you can see hosted at an anemone, which is the most recent add to the tank, which is super happy. But again, another thing that I spent a lot of money on, was super excited about, and everything hangs out in the back of the tank. Hey, are you kidding me? Ridiculous. So time moves forward, and I still wasn't really able to see any of the stuff that I purchased. I forgot to mention at the same time that I picked up that GSP, this, I think it's a Goniporia, broke off inside the tank of where I was getting the GSP from, and they just offered it to me. So I glued it to a piece of coral, and it's here now. And it's actually doing all right. It's a little closed up because I found it touching the anemone this morning, so I just stood it back upright. But I wanted something that was going to spend more time out in the open. And he does spend more time out in the open sometimes. But where did he go? The little dragonette. I got to target or a spotted dragonette somewhere. Oh, there he is. His name is Sauerkraut. It's a little harder to see. He's still a little thin. I have been supplementing him on brine shrimp, which I just get in a cup. They're all live. And then also some copepods that I picked up. They were just in the fridge at the local fish store. However, not as readily, but I have gotten him eating, or I guess her, it's technically a her, right? Because it doesn't have the spiky dorsal fin. I have gotten her eating brine shrimp and mysis shrimp every now and again. It's weird. Like yesterday, for example, I didn't have to feed brine or pods at all. She was housing the brine shrimp and the bloodworms. And then this morning, just didn't seem as interested, so I supplemented some brine shrimp. We'll do a feeding video at some point as well. But I know the tank is a little small for her, but she's definitely got a ton of room in here, and if I can get her on frozen foods, that'd be even better. I think the rate of success is higher than I originally thought since she's been already taking them, so that's super exciting. But yeah, this is my reef jar. A few of the things that I realized are a super challenge right now, and things that I just didn't think about, and I would like to have definitely changed the next time that I do this, if I do this next time. The jar, it's just the quality of the jar. You could tell there's certain areas where it just kind of blurs out. The jar isn't as clear as possible, but that's just the jar itself, not the tank, or not the reef itself. So maybe a more clear jar would be a better option. I don't know if there's a jar with a wider mouth that has a thinner glass or a more clear glass that also works with this lid, because this is the lid if I do run a jar I will probably run for the rest of my life so long as it works. The ability to get into the tank and do things. If anything happens in the tank, it is very hard to get in there and move things around or fix things or clean things. So you definitely want a good cleanup crew. You definitely want good nutrient export. And obviously a mag cleaner. That is super important. And flow. I obviously understand that a lot of corals prefer a varied flow. I would like a more pump, pulse, off pulse kind of an idea. This pump doesn't do that. It's just a consistent flow. I do plan on trying to find a pump that is small and I could run on really low power that won't tear up the anemone, that will allow me to adjust the flow ratings. I think that would be better for the tank. I think it'll help with surface agitation because I have very little to low surface agitation. There's enough in there to where it keeps it oxygenated, but if I were to add any other livestock, I'm sure that would be a problem. For now, though, that's kind of all I have for you. I guess, again, let me know if you want me to try and scape this guy and do a little series, maybe. We'll throw like a single sexy shrimp in here and do some corals, or maybe just let the whole tank get filled up with GSP. That'd be really cool. But for now, this has been the Jar Aquarium. Remember, don't let the hobby empty your bank accounts too much.